Well, hello, everybody. My name is James Moore, Senior Applied Research Project Instructor for the MAP Department. And it's an honor for me to introduce recent MAP graduate Kamryn Staples to this little interview about her applied research project, which was recently dignified as a standout showcase because of its exemplary criteria throughout all the different aspects of how the applied research project is graded. And her project title is Reaching Out, Addressing Suicide Rates in Older Adults Living in Rural Areas. And it was a workshop project choice. So great to have you here, Kamryn. Thanks so much for answering some questions about your project. And my first question is, I just wanted to ask you, how you came about this topic, why it was important to you, how it interested you, just some process about that and what your thought process was with it.
Sure. Thanks for having me. So I grew up in a rural area in Northern California, and my parents have lived here for a very long time. My stepdad was raised here on a ranch and still lives and works that ranch, and does suffer with some chronic pain and suicide ideation. And so that motivated me to kind of look into suicide rates for that age group. He is over 65, and specifically in rural areas. So that's kind of what drew me to the project. And I found out that we have a lot of resources in this area, but residents aren't connecting with those resources. And so that's why I chose a workshop to kind of highlight certain resources in the area.
Oh, that's great. And from doing the workshop choice and doing that sort of project, what did you kind of learn from, what did you take away from the experience? What did you learn from, putting it together, going through the whole process of the ARP and then kind of looking at it as a whole once it was done?
In terms of the workshop, like putting together a workshop, it was definitely more details than I had realized in the beginning, but I enjoyed the process. I did one of my big takeaways that I wrote about in my paper, and that I thought more about as time kind of went on after completing the project, was that help seeking was a big issue that I was just kind of shocked by. I didn't realize how resistant people were to reach out and ask for help, and especially in rural areas where they're very they are self-reliant, and a lot of their, at least for my stepdad, a lot of his self-worth is tied into his capabilities and what he can do, and asking for help even in simple tasks, everyday tasks, just wasn't a thing. And it kind of bled over into asking for help with chronic pain or mental health, depression. And I didn't realize that that was such a big issue. So that was interesting for me to learn.
Yeah, and I feel like it's such an interesting topic too, because there's so many intersecting things that come into play with that in terms of, older generations, rural versus urban. So, you have all these different things that impact individuals and then, see how those come into play in terms of, asking help seeking behaviors and that sort of thing. So I think, it really has a lot of tremendous value from that respect.
Right.
Awesome. And my last question was, so now that you've finished the project, what are your next steps, either in terms of, doing anything else with the ARP or educationally or professionally?
I do plan to continue at the Chicago school. I enrolled in and we'll start the Ed Psych program in fall of 2023. So I want to continue looking into suicide prevention and those aspects, but I'd like to look more or research in younger children in rural areas and see where I can improve help-seeking behavior so that when they grow up and they're older, they're not afraid to ask for help, or they're more inclined to. So,
Some more preventative aspects. That's great.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to answer some questions about your project. Really much appreciated, and best of luck in your future endeavors.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.